Hi guys, today I'm gonna do a quick overview and comparison of the Spektrum DX4S, Spektrum's newest receiver on the market using this DSMR technology. So let's get into it. So the first thing you notice, there's no antenna anymore. It's this shark fin antenna, which is nice and strong. It won't break off like the old one typically would. This new model's also backlit, which is nice. You can actually see this if you do anything at night time or even during the day. It makes a big difference. You're able to actually see what you're doing. The design is nice. This new steering wheel is much nicer to the old kind of ghetto 20-inch chrome spinner rim that they've got on the old one. I wasn't a massive fan of that, so this new one's kind of a bit sportier, a bit nicer. They've also made this top foam part. I'm not sure if you can see that. It's a little bit thinner, which is good, because I think over time what happens with the old ones is that as you squeeze them, they get flat and they start to get very close to this edge. I do find myself sometimes having to pull the foam away from this edge, so that's good, but no doubt it might happen over time. Squeezing it, it'll flatten out a little bit. That's kind. What else? So we've got SD card support now, and the SD card slot lives just in here if you take the rubber grip off. I'll be going over the update process for this as well later on. What else is new? So we've got some cool new features which I'll go through in here. So we've got ABS braking, which is nice. There's also vibration. I'm not sure if you can hear that or not. It's actually vibrating, which is cool, so you can set vibration for your alarms and different options. So I've got a timer set for 10 seconds. Just let that run down. You can also see on the main screen that they've changed this with having the 4 channels. There we go. So you can hear the timer's gone off and it's vibrated as well, which is cool. If you're in a noisy environment, you don't necessarily hear the alarm go off, but if you feel it, it's makes sense. This new radio also has 30 model memory storage inside, which is plenty. I think the other one was 10 off the top of my head, but yep, 30's plenty. If you've got 30 cars, you've got too many. Another cool thing that they've finally added is that the battery can not only takes normal AA batteries standard, you can also add nickel metal hydride batteries and also LiPo batteries. If you take this off, like so, this whole compartment here actually unscrews and you can pull that out and put a LiPo battery in there, which is very cool. Which is probably why they've ditched the charger port on that side. Now the package comes with a new receiver, this DSMR receiver, and it is tiny. The aerial is also very long. Not sure what you can. Okay, the aerial is almost as tall as the radio, so this is good. Hopefully, range is much better. I haven't had a chance to actually test the range yet, but shortly. As a comparison, just so you can get an idea of how small this thing actually is, I'll show you the old, this is the SR300 receiver in my Yokomo DIB. Focus. Okay. So there's a size comparison. You can see that. So this new receiver is tiny. Now that's cool, especially on a car like this where you've got to mount your receiver kind of just hanging off the edge of the carbon fiber plate here. Probably see that if I put that one over the top, that should sit quite nicely. Should be nice and snug in there with just a tiny little bit hanging off. And also the aerial length on the old receiver is quite short. See that? So this is good, that's a big improvement, and also it's 4-channel receiver, obviously coming with the 4-channel radio. Now telemetry, this has a very similar telemetry system as the DX3S, as you can see there. It's almost identical. So I'll give you a demonstration of how this works. I've got my this is my Hebeo Hyper 9E electric version, and I've got my telemetry sensor hooked up just in there, and it still runs off the same reflection system, this little dot that's glued on. It's not the best, but it works. They can be a little bit fiddly to mount. I ended up just drilling this bolt into this plastic top section here. There we go. And yeah, stuck it on. I've also got my temperature sensor stuck under the motor, just under this castle blower fan using the zip tie mount. So put him back there, plug it in. So get this lid up. Show you the telemetry. So you can see I've got it set to my speed. You can also set it to RPM, and here's the temperature setting down the bottom. And you can see it's just gone up by 1 degree by giving it a few revs, but yeah, also gives you your max speed up top, which is cool, and the maximum temperature, which can be useful, especially when you're trying to beat your fastest lap time. You can see what your fastest time around the track was, or your fastest speed or whatnot. You can also have alarms go off to say, hey, your car's getting too hot, come in. There's also alarms to set up if your receiver, your battery in here is starting to go too low. You can get vibration alerts that way as well, so you know to bring the car back in, which is cool. Just to show you quickly the screen differences. I'm not sure how well I'm going to be able to capture this with a big light behind me, but here's the DX3S's screen layout. So we've got these nice big trim markers here. Yep, it's all very clear and nice to read, except there's no light. Whilst now, you notice with the light off, it's actually a bit darker, but turn that on, get your light. So all these trim markers now are a bit smaller, which I'm not sure I'm a fan of. You know, there's all this wasted room. They could have put these bars like all the way over here, so hopefully in an update, if they ever watch this video, pull these bars over here, make use of the screen, because the trim is difficult to see in there. But apart from that, you know, everything's clear. It's just laid out slightly differently. But yeah, generally the same kind of setup. So there you go. Super quick review and rundown of the 4S versus the 3S. If you've got a 3S, is it worth upgrading to the 4S? Yes and no. It really depends what your environment is. Like, I've heard people complain about interference on Spektrum radios and receivers, and I have experienced some interference, but only in a heavy traffic environment, and it's been outdoor racing. So I think if you're indoor drifting or something like that, you wouldn't have any problems with the 3S. But if you're going outdoor racing buggies where there's a lot of other noise, you could get interference, and that's where this guy will come in handy. Especially knowing that this is not only DSM-R, but it does support DSM-X aircraft receivers. So you could get a much longer range and better frequency hopping and long-range telemetry using the separate telemetry module. So this one would be better in that scenario. In my case, that was why I upgraded. This is still perfectly good. There's not really a lot of difference between the two, but it's nice to have the backlight, but you can always mod that. There's tons of videos out there on how to actually update the screen. Yeah, hope you've enjoyed. I'll catch you later.